A professional engineer, but also a writer of distinction, he had acquired an old horse-drawn barge, installed an engine, and converted it to living accommodation. He recorded his maiden voyage up the Oxford Canal from Banbury in the book Narrowboat, which motivated a growing public determination to save what was still navigable of our canal system for use as a leisure resource. Tom Rolt, apart from canals and light railways, took an interest in old road vehicles and racing cars, as well as pretty well everything emanating from the Industrial Revolution. He was keen to preserve things, but only if they worked. It was not enough for a thing to be beautiful, he said. It had also to be efficient. I admire that. Tom died in 1974, but I was privileged to know Sonia, his widow, who during the war had joined the women volunteers who kept the canal boats running between London and the Midlands, carrying coal in one direction and essential engine parts in the other. Steering two heavily laden narrowboats, one with a motor towing the other, the butty, was an arduous and often dangerous occupation, but she continued at it until after the war was over, and her concern with chronicling past canal life in photographs and written testimony continued right up to her death a few years ago. While the IWA's determination to preserve our national heritage met with success in some individual cases, it was up against a government policy to abandon totally half the existing waterways, drain the land and make it available for building. It was quite a long time before public concern, mainly through their MPs, was able to curb this destruction and gradually to persuade the authorities that our canals were in fact an environmental asset. Eventually the campaign led to 3,000 miles of waterway being once again available to boaters, walkers and cyclists, with all sorts of fringe benefits to those living on or near a canal. I, for one, am very thankful for it. And, reader, if you've ever been so fortunate as to find yourself with the time to glide gently along one of these beautiful waterways, drinking it all in, I suspect you are too. Part 1. Mr. and Mrs. West. In the midst of things, two young actors met in a gloomy church hall in Pimlico in order to rehearse a romantic television drama about the 18th century Earl of Sandwich. It was a terrible play, but it was work, and in those early years television plays of any sort were thin on the ground. As I was playing only a small part, I knew there would be a lot of waiting around, so I brought along the Times crossword. Across the room I saw that the attractive, rather soberly dressed young woman playing the Bishop of Lichfield's daughter had decided to do exactly the same thing. Her name was Prunella Scales. We began to sit together when we weren't needed, and jointly attack the crossword. 2 weeks passed like this, and then it was the recording day. We all turned up at the BBC Lime Grove studios, put on our wigs and costumes, and waited to be called to the set. Time passed. We were told that, unfortunately, we had hit the middle of an electrician's strike, and until this was settled there would, of course, be no possibility of recording the play. The negotiations went on until it was now clear that we'd run out of time, and the director called us together and told us that we could all go home. It had been found impractical to reschedule the programme, so we all made noises of mostly spurious disappointment and got out of costume. I turned to Prue and suggested we might go to the pictures. So we got on a bus to the Odeon Marble Arch and saw The Grass is Greener, starring Cary Grant and Deborah Kerr. I don't think we were aware of the aptitude of the title. I was just coming to the end of an unsuccessful 7-year marriage, and my wife Jacqueline and I had finally agreed that we'd be better off apart and free to explore other possible relationships. However, when the film was over, all that happened was that Prue and I said goodbye, swapped addresses, and hoped very much we'd work together again sometime. Prue went back to her Chelsea flat that she shared with 3 other girls, and I returned to our family house in Wimbledon. Some weeks later, I got a postcard from her saying that the BBC had resurrected that awful play and that she had reluctantly agreed to be in it again. Prue said she was sorry to find